I am joined by Congressman Himes. He's a member of the House Select Committee on Intelligence, and want to get right to it. Your take on what you've seen play out today. I know you've had some briefings today on the Intelligence Committee. What do you know at this point? What do you make of what's played out?
Well, it's obviously gratifying that the two individuals who were front and center in the attack on the office are no longer with us, and you got to give the French credit for tracking them down pretty quickly. But it's still a very tense moment. We've got a lot of questions that need to be answered. First, who else is involved, and is there the possibility of follow-on attacks? That's something that you don't really know until you've had an opportunity to really look at the networks. And of course, that process needs to continue. We have some indications. We don't have a lot of clarity, but we've got indications that these guys were pretty well trained. Looks like they were trained by Islamic extremists. We're going to need to pull that apart. Who else was associated with that process? Because, of course, those are people that we're going to want to find and prevent from doing anything else.
What distinguishes this? If they did go to Yemen, to Syria, and receive that training and then came back to France, what is the red flag that raises for you in terms of being a U.S. lawmaker and the security threat here in the United States?
Well, obviously the main concern it raises is primarily for those people who have folks that have gone over to Syria to fight and have those either EU or U.S. passports, and we know that there are those people. And so this is kind of what we worried about in terms of people going over to fight in Syria, getting some skills, and this looks like it could be one of those situations. Again, we don't know, but this looks like it could be one of those situations. We've known for a long time that something along these lines could happen. The Syrian conflict, it's not like Afghanistan. It's happening on Europe's doorstep. And, of course, it's not that hard to get from Europe to the United States. So this is all worthy of a lot of coordination and thought on the part of our security services.
Have you all been briefed so far on the notion whether or not these guys did this on their own or whether or not they were ordered by a larger organization, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, some other group, to carry out what's taken place over the last few days?
At this point, we're piecing it together. This is very much a live case, and I think that we don't know anything definitively at this point. But that's obviously of real interest because it has been some time, of course, since these networks, what we know to be AQAP or Al-Qaeda in Yemen. It's been some time since they've been actually able to successfully pull something off outside of their area. So this is going to be a real subject of inquiry in the coming days.
And there's been a real debate here in this country about the capabilities of the U.S. intelligence community and some proposals to rein in, for example, the ability to monitor bulk phone collection, that sort of thing. How do you think France is going to impact the debate that takes place here as to what the CIA, the intelligence community, the NSA can do going forward versus what they've been able to do up to this point?
Well, I think there's no question, when we're reminded by how awful terrorism can be and how close to home it can be, that changes the weather a little bit around this. Frankly, I hope it doesn't change it too much. The idea that we always and constantly have to be sacrificing our civil liberties in favor of security, that's an argument that gets way overblown. Of course, we've gone through that in the very wrenching discussion about the Senate torture report. These don't always have to be either-or arguments, but no question that not just the issue of what can our security services do and not do is going to be front and center. This is going to put the discussion, I think, in the coming weeks about whether the Department of Homeland Security should be fully funded, how it should be funded, whether it should get caught up in an ideological battle. That's going to, I think, change the weather around that discussion as well.
A vote you guys could have as soon as next week, as what we're hearing from the Republican leaders.
Yeah, again, and I think more than a week ago, the idea that the Department of Homeland Security should be used as a political football looks a lot different today than it did a week ago.
All right. Jim Himes, Congressman of Democrat from Connecticut, also a member of the Intelligence Committee. Mark, we'll send it back to you.